What's going on, YouTube? Mr. Almighty is here, and we are back, man, with another one. All right, man. So I didn't get a chance to watch live the presser for the coordinators, the offensive coordinator, the defensive coordinator, and our special teams coach. Which right now we about to jump off into, and we about to break down and talk and react to Tommy Reese, Jeff Ulbrich, and our special teams coach, which his name is difficult to remember. And then also right after this, we're going to get the Tommy Reese interview right after that exclusive interview for the OC. So we're going to sit here, break down this video, react, give our thoughts and opinions, man. Make sure you hit that like button, comment, subscribe, share it to your friends and family, turn your notifications on so you know when I post new content. Also, make sure you follow me on all my socials and subscribe to my Twitch. Let's jump off into the video.
For you guys to meet our coordinators today. We're getting very close to finalizing the coaching staff. As you know, that's a puzzle.
I think we only got like one more position to fill on
mix of coaches and on all three sides of the ball.
roster.
We're getting close.
I mean, that's the roster.
On the James Pierce situation, there's really nothing to add. I'll defer. Our coaches will defer to the statement that was put out. So respectfully, I understand their questions, but we don't have much to add there.
I'm glad,
Tommy.
Right coach. There, that right there, as a head coach. Okay, I'm not gonna make this a poop on our last regime video, but right there, our last coach, Raheem Morris, would have sat there and tried to talk about the dang thing. He would have gave a lot more information. I'm glad he went ahead and said, "Hey, look, James Pierce situation, whatever statement we put out, just refer to that. That's it. We ain't got nothing else to add to that." I'm glad he got out in front of that and told everybody before then, man. Like, don't even start asking them type of questions.
Brick, and Coach Ackerman, I think very highly of these coordinators. I'm very, very excited about the group we're putting together in total, but
yeah,
Tommy,
I am too.
Brick,
I'm definitely enjoying the coaching staff he's putting together because.
So with that, I'll turn this over to Tommy.
Yeah, we got a lot of experience, but we also got a lot of youth on this team. We definitely need.
How's everyone doing?
That Tommy Reese first,
man. First of all, I just wanted to thank Mr. Blank, Kevin, Matt Ryan for the opportunity to be here. Thank all of you guys for taking your time today to be here and, spend a little bit of time, talking about the transition and talking about what's to come. Been here just a short while, but already can feel what a first-class organization it is. Feel really
that's a shot at the Browns. And if you ain't seen what's going on with the Browns organization
really
right now,
about the roster that's in place, excited for this offseason to continue to develop and add to that. And the fun will come in a couple months when we get to be with the players. But the work's definitely already started, and I'm excited to put that product on field and get going here pretty shortly. So any questions, happy to answer them and get rolling.
That work look like right now? Like, what exactly are you doing in the office?
Yeah.
Watch a lot of tape, I assume.
Yeah, there's a lot. You come in, especially with a staff, like some of us have worked together, some of us have not, some of us have missed each other by a year or two. So, the biggest thing is to get the staff alignment and to make sure that once our players.
I am going to say this, though. Even though he has play call experience, Tommy Reese has play call experience. Not at the, well, no, he did get the call. Well, he ain't got a lot of experience at the play calling level of the NFL, but he has play call experience at the college level. I'm kind of glad we got somewhat of a younger guy for the OC spot, because I feel like he would definitely fit with our younger core. But also too, I definitely think a lot of I think he'll be able to bring new nuances from college to now, and also help Michael Penix with his play calling.
Are in this building that the lines of communication are so streamlined, to allow our players to have success, right? Like we want to make sure that everybody on our offensive staff is seeing things through the same lens, using the same
getting on the
verbiage
same
and terminology
page
to make sure that there's no gray area for our players. We're constantly also part of the evaluation process here as we get ready for free agency and the draft. So there's extra things that need to take place there. And look, there's a level of like relationship building and camaraderie too, that these are the times of years with new staffs where you're away from your family, you're kind of here just together. So there's a lot of opportunities to build those relationships, but there's a ton of work to be done. And you always feel like when you're a part of a new staff, you're kind of playing a little bit catch up, but that's why, you work the hours you do, and it's all an aim for when the players come back in this building that we're ready to roll.
Tommy, based off of some of the results that you had last year, being the first time player caller in the NFL, I'm curious, like a two-part for you. I'm curious, like, what was the difference between that you see from a college players in college and the NFL, and then how do you then prepare for, or what do you feel like you learned from your experience of calling plays?
Okay, there you go. Right here about
you learn
play
a
calling.
lot, especially through some challenges, some good. You learn a lot about how to balance what maybe you want to do and what you're able to do from an offensive standpoint based on what you got. You learn a lot about continuing to find ways to put your players in the best position to have success. And, we're able to string along a couple wins there down the stretch, but obviously had our challenges throughout. So, I know Kev talked about like learning through challenges is such a big part of this profession. And, up until the last couple of years, didn't have a ton. Like we were pretty successful at most of my stops beforehand. And so I think you learn a new way.
Because
of
he was
I
think he was the offensive coordinator for Alabama at one point too. I forgot what year.
The difference is, I've been asked that
I want to
question
say
a lot.
23.
There are definitely like distinct differences in how the game's played, college versus the NFL. Whether or not that transpires in calling the game, it's more on the preparation side. I think you got to be so cognizant of personnel on the other side of the ball, right? I mean, there are guys that can ruin your day pretty quickly. So like making sure that your matchups are locked in. There's some small rule differences that you got to
basically
the
details. I mean, the game is the same,
once
but
you're in
the
the flow
details
of the
and
game,
preparation
I would
is
say
different.
there's not a ton different when you're actually calling it. It's more in how you prepare and how you put the game plan together.
Tell me, when you watch Michael Penix on film, what jumps out to you, and how do you see him fitting into the offense you guys want to implement?
Now, even though I didn't watch this, I seen this quote from him. He said, well, he's about to say it, so I'll let him do it. But more so like the little tidbits that people are talking about on this, they're pretty much saying, hey, everybody's backing up. Excuse me, I'm sorry. Early morning. They're saying basically Michael Penix is pretty much the start, and then that's been pretty much my consensus on the whole thing.
I mean, extreme arm talent would be the first thing that, just from a film standpoint that you see. I mean, all the throws outside the numbers, down the field, can throw with anticipation, can throw with great accuracy, is a tough guy in the pocket, man. I mean, he will stand in there and deliver the ball down the field. Like any young player, there's always going to be areas for room of improvement and growth, and that's what we're so excited to get to work with Michael on. But, I mean, there's a lot to really, really like on the film, and excited and eager to get ready to build that with him.
Have you had a chance to meet with him at all?
Yeah, we have. We've met him. Obviously, the rules in the off season are a little wish-washy on what you can talk about. But, he's been in the building doing rehab, and so we've had a chance to meet him. And what a great young man. You know what I mean? Like, overlaps with some guys that had coached him in college at different points in my career, and everybody's always spoken so highly of him. And meet him for 2.
With that being said, so just said was like he kind of overlapped with some coaches that didn't coach him. So basically, he did have some run-ins with coaches that already didn't like had Michael Penix around and been around him and got a connection. I'm glad he's building the relationship up, because we didn't hear Zach Robinson say anything about like really like trying to build a relationship with Michael Penix. He's basically just there. You know what I'm saying? So it's just like, yeah, this regime just feels way better than last
minutes, and you can feel that right away. So I think you're looking at a young player that's really hungry and eager to get back out there, and it's our job as coaches to put him in a position to have success.
When you walk into this room, you see John Robinson, you see Drake London. What do you see from those guys in particular on film?
Yeah, I mean, the cool thing about this group of offensive players, and not just to single out two, but really the collective guys, you've had a chance to talk with a lot of them, is like they're made of the right stuff. Like what they want to be about, like how they care about their teammates, how they want to play offensive football. Like they are made about the right stuff. It's a very selfless group in the sense that, they want to win and they want to do things the right way.
I was just about to
And,
say that. Shoot, they
that's
want to
part of our
win.
job again as coaches to make sure that we put them in position to do that. But I mean, the talent speaks for itself, but the football character and the makeup of them is at such a high level. And talk to the guys up front and the offensive line, you have a lot of the same mentality. And that's the exciting part for us as a staff is you get to work with guys that want to do it the right way and want to do it for each other. And the talent is already there. It's that part is really important to have in line.
I think at Kevin's introductory press conference, Matt was talking about you want to be solid in the run, do play action. For you, does that mean you primarily need to be under center, or is that something you can do?
Here go the under center question
I
right
think,
here.
look, you can do it in both. I think there's definite benefits to being under center. That's been a huge part of the identity. Kevin going back to, throughout his career has been an identity, as we work together. And
So this year that means we will be seeing under center.
Putting, defense in conflict, right? Like the illusion of run and pass, illusion of pass to run, like that is what you're after. You're constantly trying to keep the defense off balance and stress some of their rules. And, there's a lot of ways to do that. Under center is certainly one of them. And, that's one that we utilize, but, there are other ways to get to those points as well.
I would think play action, like just the way it hits faster when it's under center. Like it seems like to me, the more effective.
It just matters how you run the ball, right? Like if you run the ball from gun and you want to marry up your play action with that, great. If you run it from the pistol or under, like you just want to make it complementary of one another.
All right. I like how he
puts
puts it.
The way that he puts together a game plan. What should fans know about this guy?
Yeah, it's a good question.
Yeah.
I think
You
Kevin
answered
always
this
be
question.
pressing on, what do we do really well and what our players can maximize and how can we add wrinkles and add complementary pieces to make sure that we're keeping a defense off balance, typically one step ahead of the opponent and making sure that, there are things that we're anticipating them trying to take away. Okay, what's the counter? What's the complement to that? So
Ever heard
Kev
none of
loves the
this
game plan. I mean, that's one
for
thing.
last year
There's,
regime?
early in the week, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday nights, like, that's something that we've
I know I keep stopping it, but man, it's just a day and night. Honestly, it's day and night. Last year's regime. Now Jeff Ulbrich is the only constant, so we ain't really too worried about Jeff Ulbrich like that. I already know. I kind of really want to see what I really want to see his part more so than anything because I know he gonna have some happiness and grace that they kept him around. You dig what I'm saying? But this regime just sounds all like they are working collaboratively and everybody's one-minded. Everybody's on the same page. Last regime, everybody would just seem like they were just all over the place.
talked a lot about over the last couple of years. Like those are really fun times as coaches when you're putting the plan together and then, you get to Sunday and you see it come to fruition. Like that's the most rewarding part of coaching and seeing your players have that success. So, Kev's been an excellent coach in this league for a long time. I don't need to tell you guys that, but when you peel the curtain back and you see him, collectively work with the group to put the game plan together, it's pretty exciting.
How do your skills and acumen complement each other? And
Yeah.
what did you do that led him to trust you to hand over the play calling last year?
Yeah, the second one's probably a better question for him. I think there was a level of comfort coming back, a year, and I think part of the decision when I got the coordinator job was always to build towards the trajectory of that change. I can't say specifically exactly what it was. I think we see the game through a similar lens in terms of what we value, the marriage of the run in the past, the ability to run the ball, putting our players in position to have success, being multiple in what we do offensively. We have different personalities. We have different ways of going about things. I think that complement each other pretty well. And, I'm not afraid to challenge Kev on certain things, and Kev's not afraid to push back. And I think for any healthy working relationship, you need to have that. You need to have that back and forth. You can't have people that just try to see eye to eye all the time on things. We talk about it, we're all think alike. No one thinks very much. And I think when you have this challenging group of ideas from everybody on our staff, it's something that can really lead to a good blend of offensive football. And not just, speaking of Kev, but can't have a ton of ego, when you're putting together a game plan. If there's merit to an idea and there's good reason behind it, we want to make sure that if that puts our players in a position to have success, we're going to explore it.
Thank you. I like he said that. I like that he said it. You can't have ego, and I feel like our offensive coordinator had a damn ego on him. We sat in pistol down there a majority of the season. It's like he didn't try to switch up nothing. Kirk Cousins coming back though, he switches up stuff, but he eventually went right back to the same bull crap that he was.
Those, did you have to think twice in following Stefanski here from Cleveland, or was it kind of?
Not a hard decision for me. You know, there was when I left Alabama and went to Cleveland a couple of years ago, I really did it to work for Kevin. You know, that was the main driver. I said that last year in Cleveland. Like, I came there to work for Kevin. My opinion has only grown since that time. Like, I feel so strongly about not just the coach he is, but like more importantly, the person he is that you're working for every day. And you know, when we spoke there shortly after the season, it was something that I really wanted to explore and really wanted to be a part of.
Given the way you want to play offensive football, what are the top 2 or 3 things you need from your quarterback?
Yeah, I think every player is a little bit different, but like, you're looking at somebody that, you know, we want somebody that can make really good decisions and lead the team, right? Like, our job as a quarterback is to lead the offense and score points. It's pretty simple. A lot of that comes from, you know, high-level decision-making and the ability to be good in critical moments to score points. And, you know, we're going to chip away at that as we go, and we're going to put our players, you know, let the quarterback feel like he has ownership of the offense as we grow in it, so that he feels like he can have, you know, really, really great control of what we're doing and lead the rest of the guys and be successful that way.
Unlike the others.
Decision-making pie, if it's possible, how much of it is pre-snap and how much of it is post-snap in terms of the importance of?
Yeah, I wouldn't separate them, right? Like, decision-making happens. Sometimes there's a pre-snap look that you have to validate post-snap, right? And so the decision-making from the time you break the huddle until the time the play's dead, that's one element, right? And so, again, like, I would put the onus on us as coaches. Like, if quarterback's not making the right decisions, are we doing the things correctly during the week, during the installs, to make sure that
accountability? That's what I like to hear from Tommy Rees. Accountability. A lot of these guys last year did not hold themselves accountable or did not have anybody accountability.
Like, a lot of my career has gone pretty well, right? Like, we had success at Notre Dame, we had success at Alabama. You know, you go into a challenging situation where you're not having success, you learn about just, like, you know, those are hard days when you got to get in front of the offense when you're not playing well and you're losing games, and continue to get guys to buy in. And I think you just find a resilience and a way to continue to keep guys connected and playing hard. And, like, I would say that, you know, if you look back and look at last year, like, we didn't really flinch. You know, we won the last 2 games, divisional opponents, and our guys kept playing. We had however many rookies playing for us there at the end of the year. And, like, I give our staff, you know, I'm not speaking of myself here, but I would give our staff a ton of credit for how they handled some of that adversity.
I mean, you a part of the staff, bro. You give yourself credit.
And having to, you know,
give yourself accountability to take ownership of,
you know, continue
if we're doing something right and if we're not.
I'd say there's a resilience level there that that you learn to continue to persevere through, and, you know, find ways to get in front of the group and be a leader. Like, coordinators, everybody wants to talk about calling plays. Like, being a coordinator is so much more than that. Like, you have to lead the staff, you have to lead the group, you have to have consistent messaging.
Exactly, and
I think a lot of the time, and
them other guys didn't understand
not
that.
having a ton of success, and it's hard to get in front of the group. You know, you have to find ways to continue to be a leader and continue to motivate and continue to find ways to get guys to pull for each other.
When you're trying to find a balance in your run game between having enough of it to be diverse and doing what you do well enough for your own.
Yeah, it's a great question.
What are some of the markers you use to determine when you're in that happy spot?
Yeah, I would say, like, scheme and presentation are 2 different things, right? Like, you can be very consistent in scheme with the illusion of a different presentation that can get some of the variances that you're looking for. And then I think you have to have something, hey, this is what we hang our hat on. These are going to be our compliments. That's where your 75, 80% of your run game comes from. And then week to week, based on a defensive structure, you might pull from something that you installed in camp and say, hey, the defense is telling us, hey, we can run this. We'll pull from that. But, again, scheme's one thing. Presentation's a little bit different in terms of keeping a variance. And then, you know, you have your.
See, I didn't hear Zach Robinson break none of this down or anything.
Ready to go.
The difference.
I don't think you overlapped with him in Cleveland, but Bill Callahan, obviously, like a very well rehearsed figure on staff here. What does he add, and generally, like, how can he impact this offensive line, especially in the run game?
Yeah, his career. Look, I want to say this first. Like, you know, the way they ran the ball here a year ago was, you know, at a high level. And, you know, Coach Ledford, who I know a little bit, did a really nice job with them. And
Okay, so I didn't know he knew Ledford. Okay, so he knows.
Talk to people across the league. Like, you look at this offensive line play in the run game, there's a lot of strengths there. So, you know, want to give credit there.
And then last year, our run game probably could have been better, but we had injuries to our right side. We had injuries to our left guard at times.
When I got to Cleveland, it was like, you know, he was up here, and everybody spoke of him that way. I missed him by like 4 days. But already you can just see the professionalism. You can feel the expertise in the run game.
I kind of do want to get an interview with Bill Callahan, what made him want to come to here and stuff like that.
I was very excited about, you know, when Kevin and I, you know, sat down and talked about the staff and the direction it was going. Just to be around a great coach like that every day, it makes all of us better.
Got time for one more?
Your experience at playing the quarterback position, is there, outside of the obvious of being able to execute plays, like, is there any like small, minute thing that kind of helps you with the structure of calling plays in the football game?
I think it's really important that you get to know your quarterback. And as a quarterback, I guess, I mean, it's been a while, you know what I mean? Like, you know, like, there are certain calls, there are certain things that get you into rhythm, right? And, like, there are certain things that you're going to say, like, God, if I can just get this called, I can get back into it. And so I probably reflect on that as much as anything. But, you know, I just, like, things happen, and you might say, oh, this is why. But if you look at it from a quarterback's lens, you really know it was this that caused it, not something else. And I think that relatability has served me well, you know, through my career of just being able to, you know, relate to those guys and see it through a similar lens.
And see,
not at this level.
I don't think we asked Zach Robinson that question when he had first got here. But I don't even think he brought up his quarterback type of scheme and stuff like that.
Handling the quarterbacks, and look, you want quarterbacks that you can have a certain back and forth with, right? Like, there's a rapport there, there's a challenge there, there's, you know, the ability to pull the best out of them, and you know, that's a fun part about the job. And we are so fortunate to have AVP here and working with the quarterbacks, and somebody who played in the league, has, you know, served as a coordinator. Again, I missed him in Cleveland by a couple weeks, and already a great resource for us. And again, I said it in the opening.
Not only did Kevin Stefanski put experience around our players, he put experience around other of his coaching staff. Like, Tommy Reese ain't got a lot of experience, but he put a lot of experience around him for him to be able to go and talk to. And you know what I'm saying? Development. Coaches need development too. Just because you have the potential to be a great coach, don't mean you might be a great coach. You just got to still develop into that. Hey, there goes that man.
Still looking for that endorsement. It'd be fantastic. As much coffee as I drink.
You all good in the back? Cool. All right.
You want me to start it off? I can. Well, I'll start just by saying, first, I just wanted to show like my love and appreciation for Ra, for Terry, how excited I was to come here last year. Mainly for Ra, because that was my brother that I'd known for so long, and then for Terry, which I learned to love and respect at a high level. So,
which I ain't gonna lie, I already kind of
unfortunate, you know, that occurred the way it did. I wish I could have done more to have helped that situation.
Rick, you did all you could. But I'm gonna say this. I ain't mad at Brick getting letting it be known that he was cool with him. I'm cool with that, but yeah. Can't tell. I ain't gonna let him say, "Hey, oh man, wish I could have." Nah, you did what you was supposed to do. You put that defense in the right position. Now, it was at times, Brick, that I had to question you, like with certain people, certain players. But a little bit us knowing who Raheem Morris is, he could have forced Brick to be type of those guys at certain times. And then not only that, Brick's defense played good enough for us to go to the playoffs. We could have been in the playoffs. We should have been in the playoffs. The offensive side of the ball, the special team side of the ball was missing. They had no corrections there. So That's the difference.
Excited, if not more, to work with Kevin and his staff and to learn things in a different lens and a different approach. That, so far I've just been blown away with and super impressed with the clarity of his vision and the way he wants to get this thing done. So with that, I'll open it up.
Get
I
it.
was going to ask you, what was that process like for you? Because, these guys are good friends of others, especially Rob. They get fired and, you still have a contract here. And how did that whole process go and how did you end up back, where you are right now?
Yeah, it was something I'd never been through, and talking to a lot of different coaches. A lot of coaches had never been through it as well. Because typically, like a staff gets fired.
Everybody goes.
Staff gets fired, and everybody goes along their way. And for them to hold on to my contract, first of all, I was blown away and just.
Yeah.
I mean, it was.
I feel like
it was
the biggest thing that Jeff Ulbrich had to worry about was his son.
Winning as many games as
his son caused the biggest problem for him with that whole Shadooper thing.
I was honored.
That to me.
At the same time, I was excited about the opportunity to really build upon what we did last year. It was, and I said it last year. For the vast majority of the season, that was year one for us within this defense. And in that, there's a lot of growth opportunity, but there's also a lot of struggles that you got to learn from. You got to go through a lot of stuff and keloids, et cetera.
And one thing I say last year,
finally getting
this year we got to get us a couple more linebackers in there
look at it kind of from that
that can still play
it's exciting to think where we can
an exceptional level. I'm not gonna say they gotta play, they gotta be the superstar or anything, but we need more linebacker exceptional play because last year when Devon Diablo got hurt, our linebacker play went down and we was getting killed.
People didn't know who we were, what we were. And I kind of anticipated that, and then midway through the season, some of the snakes got exposed. But they're necessary snakes. They're necessary, struggles, necessary keloids, all that. And I thought in that last 4 or 5 games found, a bit of a sweet spot in regards to the scheme and combining the two systems. So to now really reflect on it and now to really polish it up and get this thing right it's exciting.
And you're still in the process of building your staff. I was curious about Mike Rutenberg, who's a pretty big key to you guys.
Absolutely. Yeah. Rudy is Mike. I don't know if anybody calls him Mike. When I hear that, it's like no one calls me Jeff, Yeah, he does an amazing job. He's one of the best teachers.
I do want to make sure. I do want to. Our passing game coordinator. I do want us to keep
at a PhD plus level, and he's a great teacher of it. So,
but he did get
a huge part of our success back there. And whether he gets a coordinator job this year or next, it's coming. Because he's just too good of a
interview.
Coach,
I forgot who he got an interview.
Teammate, staff member.
It's one of the jobs that just got that people that just got hired. I think.
Selfishly, I don't want to lose him, and I'd love for him to be with us this year and for the foreseeable future. But he's got a bright future. He really does.
Yeah.
So he's not going to be back with you guys.
We don't know yet.
Okay.
Yeah, we don't know yet. So there's obviously, and it's so well deserved all the attention he's gotten, and and he's gotten some interviews. Actually, he's in the process of interviewing now for the Cleveland job. So. We'll see where that goes. I'm pulling for him, and I want the best for him. And we have a plan if he were to be, if he were to go to Cleveland. But hopeful from our standpoint that he stays.
Oh, okay, yeah. Cleveland is the one who called for him.
Yep.
I wouldn't go to Cleveland if I was him. I'd go take some other places. If anything, I'll go look somewhere else. And then if not, I'm staying right there in Atlanta.
That's probably one of the places I've been blown away the most. There are, as we all know, whether you're in this business or not, there's some healthy egos, some unhealthy egos in this world. And there's not always the humility to ask questions and and they want to make their mind up for themselves. I haven't felt that from this group at all. So they've done exactly that and leaned into us. And in regards to the character, obviously they can watch the tape and they can evaluate the talent, but really to, for an assessment of the character and their process and what they're like in the building and the teammates they are, the learners they are, this has been super collaborative across the board. And it's going to be a huge reason that we might not have the pitfalls of a true first-year staff, and it's interesting, as I'm going through it from a defensive perspective, obviously that's my lens. I look through this game, it's been exciting because with the multiplicity that we built on defense, it's really given us a bigger group of players to really evaluate and potentially sign, whether through free agency, the draft. Because the scheme now allows us to kind of pivot and go the direction of the talent, as opposed to in the past, I've been like, it's got to look like this, and if it doesn't look like this, we can't do it, and so it's going to be exciting.
So now you have the players.
First of all, because I think the players that can fit the scheme,
flexibility.
Because we got to tailor it to the men's that we get. It's going to be
exciting. And I think when he was talking about other defenses and stuff that he was talking about,
really like.
That he didn't really just go far into. I think he was meaning like we didn't have the players to run a certain scheme.
As far as the season is, and obviously that's what this is about.
Didn't have the
fun
talent or the kind of players to run
together and learning these new guys and a new approach to evaluate players and to attack an off season is exciting for me and my growth.
So I don't know what your relationship is with Kevin Stefanski. Just before, obviously, you guys joined the staff together. Could you just walk us through that relationship and potentially, you as a defensive coach, like what fans should know about Kevin Stefanski?
Well, I just never had a good day against him. That's how it starts, Tremendous respect for him as a coach and a leader of men.
That's good. That means
he's one of those guys.
That means during practice time, you should be coming up with new ways of how to stop the offenses.
Says something bad about this man, not just the football coach, but the human
iron sharpers iron,
the leader that he is. The teammate that he is, everything has been.
I gotta get something to eat,
and every day that gets reaffirmed when I'm around him. So
I gotta clean.
I had no real prior relationship with him, but everything that I've been exposed to so far has got me super excited about what he's going to teach me and how he's going to make me a better coach and better man.
Hey, ain't nothing wrong with that. Iron sharpens iron. There's another man to sharpen another man. That's what it says.
None of us, I think, really know how it's going to play out. But with that in mind, like, kind of what is, therefore, your kind of, like how are you operating basically in this environment where you don't really know what his future is going to be as it relates?
Exactly in that. It's an unfortunate situation. Just don't have all the details of it yet and where this thing will go. So we'll see.
Do you have to kind of prepare for the interim, him not being here?
It's still so early, it's still so early. We're not there yet either way.
Talk about how you've been, you had to mix some things up as far as from a scheme standpoint last year. I'm curious, are you going to kind of try to continue that, or are you trying to implement some things that, that you've done traditionally?
Yeah, so the first part of this assessment is to really self-scout what we did. So that'll be the first piece, and that's what we're in the process of doing now. And at the same time, we're going through free agency right now, writing up the players, and then we'll transition into the draft. So then it's going to be, all right, this is the men's that we have. The self-scout's going to tell us what we did well, what we didn't do well, what we got to do better. But it's also going to usually exposes like some holes and some places where we need to explore and grow and evolve. So I guess yes to all those questions. Like we learned a lot last year. The process of evolving and growing, I think that's ongoing always. Not just this year, being that
if you ain't growing and being better, you're dying.
And again, it's as I spoke to, it's an exciting time too, because it's an opportunity for me to really learn and grow and be exposed to maybe some things schematically that I haven't dove into. And I learned last year that there's something very powerful about that. I think I've been stubborn at times and been in my own world about this is the only way to do things, and I learned last year that is not the truth. There's a lot of ways to get this thing done, and I'm excited to explore maybe new ways to add to what we've already done.
Mark, a really interesting situation in the fact that you were here when Ryan was guiding you guys in the Super Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
Now he's what's that been like? Have you had any conversations with two?
Yeah, it's phenomenal because
I forgot. Yeah, he was the coordinator.
One of the highest
coordinators over
character human beings inside or outside of football that I've ever been around, and I feel fortunate because my entire 6 years with the Dan Quinn regime here, Dan put me in the back of the plane. So I sat with Matt for 6 straight years on almost every away game and developed a really cool relationship with him about football.
Okay, I didn't know that.
And everything in between. So
yeah,
to have him in this position is, it's to me, it just speaks volumes of Arthur Blank and the clarity in his vision of how to get this thing right and to where he wants it to go. Matt is the absolute right human being for that job. And it's been,
And
it's
that's
been
what
so
we've been
cool
thinking.
to
Well,
see
at least
him
that's
in
what
this
I've been
role
thinking. Me and
because,
my constituent,
like,
my
does he know what it takes to be
contemporaries,
a
you
Super
dig what
Bowl
I'm saying?
quarterback
My
for 3 years? He
colleagues.
took us to a Super Bowl. He was an MVP for a season. He's played this game at the highest level. Does he know how to execute a game plan? Absolutely, it's proven over the course of his career. There's some.
Does he know how to come
does
up
he
with a
know what a
game?
winner looks like? Absolutely, and he knows what that process looks like to create a winner. You know, but there's obviously some things that he's never been exposed to from the new role that he's in, and a lot of guys in his shoes and a lot of guys that have been around that have tried to make that transition pretend as though they know everything. That is not him. He is asking questions right and left. I can just see him observing and growing and like, so it's really exciting to think where he's going to take this organization because he's the right guy for the job.
Yep.
I can ask, like, regarding James, just as a person, what was your reaction when you heard the news?
I was obviously disappointed, you know.
Coach, you said something about it's players over scheme. You guys got some free agent players on your side of the ball that
Yep.
Do you make that decision on what the scheme will look like after you kind of get that roster in place?
Absolutely.
Some of these guys may not be back.
At 100%. And I think that's the beauty of kind of what we built last year. I've never had that type of flexibility. It's always been, it's this, and without this, it doesn't work. You know, now that we've done a little bit of 3-4,
Some people's scheme is dependent on having great players.
Now we can really cater to the players we end up having. So we're going to attack
That's
this
the
free
scheme
agency,
helping
we're gonna
the
attack
player.
the draft, and it also helps us really take and this one always jumps, you know, to the forefront of my mind, like pass rusher. We can go into this thing and say, let's get the best pass rusher. In the past, it would have been, we got to get the best rusher, but he's got to be 6'3", 255, and, you know, he's got to be a traditional 4-3 end, as we would all know that. Now it's, and as funny as this might seem, and I say this to people just to give you perspective, and it sounds nuts now because of what we know, but like when Micah Parsons when he's coming out of college, Penn State, we were in New York at the time, and we were a tradish 4-3 team, as you know it. 4 down, rarely in 5 down spacing, with traditional, you know, 4-3 linebackers behind it, athletic guys that thrive in space and coverage, etc. Well, Micah wasn't a fit for that system. You know what I'm saying? Now that seems nuts now because of what he is, but he wasn't even a candidate for that scheme, you know, and none of us know now what we knew then or vice versa, however that works. But like the beauty of what we've created here now is a Micah sitting there, a Nick Bonito sitting there, a guy that might not necessarily be the traditional 4-3 edge pass rusher. Take them because we know how to use them and we know how to feature them, you know, which helps. I think it's ultimately going to help Ian Cunningham and his staff because there's a little bit more flexibility in that way.
Coach, when did that transition happen for you? You know, just from looking at prospects and trying to devise a scheme that you feel can be successful. When did that transition happen for you? Like, having that open mind to say, hey, he doesn't necessarily have to look like this.
Right. I think it started in my first year in New York. So my first year in New York, I was so stubborn to say, this is what we're going to be. We're going to be attack front, Washburn wide 9, and we're going to play Seattle 3 behind it with a little blend of some split safety mixed principles. And we were horrible. You know, we played horrible football, you know, to be completely honest. And it wasn't that we necessarily didn't have enough talent.
Like
I might have told you that at the time. It was more that we weren't featuring the guys that we had in the best of ways. We were featuring them in the way I wanted to feature them, which wasn't necessarily the best. In that, you know, you gave us time and we built a roster there that was conducive to that scheme and we played really good defense. I don't think we live in that day and age anymore. Like, as I watch like 10 new openings every year in the NFL, like, patience is not a virtue of ownership or fan bases, you know? And in that, you better produce a competitive unit now. And unless you have multiplicity, unless you have answers schematically and different ways to feature different guys, like you're gonna pigeonhole yourself into a place where you're not going to be able to play good defense. At the same time, even when we built what I felt was a championship defense in New York, in the process of doing that, it had holes in it. And within those holes, I used to look at some of the best football minds in football. Vic Fangio jumps to the front of my mind because he was doing something that was so different than what we were doing, front-wise and coverage-wise. And that was really the system that I attacked. You know, Ra had the exposure to Staley's defense from the Rams, so he brought that here, which gave me a piece of it. And then what people don't know is John Timu, who's in our building, who's now been retained and our outside linebacker coach, he played for Fangio. And he is a rare brain when it comes to a linebacker. Like linebackers normally, they know the game from a front seven perspective. I promise you, and it blew my mind and I had to see it to believe it. He could coach the corner to the end. He could coach the defense from tip to tip, top to bottom. And in that, he really opened up this world to me of how Coach Fangio coaches it, some of his principles that really make his defense go. And it was like, man, that fills this gap. That complements this defense. And then as we built it in that way, and then, and like I've already spoken to, like there were some struggles.
It feels good to really have a coach in here that really seems like he knows what he's freaking doing. Unlike having the other guys, like you hear them talk, it don't seem like they have complete thoughts. It seems like they'll start something and then stop what they was thinking and then start something. Like him, he got complete thoughts, complete like statements and stuff. It just sounds so much different. You can tell when he knows what he's talking about, and you can tell his growth from here to here.
That as the season went along, but I felt like at the end of the year it was like, because you could tell me the flaws of Fangio's defense, but I'm stubborn enough. It's my superpower, my kryptonite. Like I got to see it to believe it. Like I got to get beat on a high cross and single. I just got to happen, you know? So as much as the players need the keloids, I need the keloids, you know, and I start to learn it at a deeper level. And it was like, and I'm not saying I'm Vic Fangio, I'm not saying that, but I learned his stuff on a deeper level. I learned that system on a deeper level. I learned some of the, I knew the strengths fairly well. I didn't know some of the weaknesses within that. So I'm just excited about polishing this whole thing up.
And then not only that, I got to point this out. The fact that he brung up freaking Raheem Morris and him bringing some of that Rams defense over, that let me know Raheem Morris at times, yeah, definitely had something to do with our defense had like certain little looks that would be funny, or we had certain players out there that shouldn't have been out there. That let me know he did that.
But getting the roster right first, because this thing doesn't go without players, as we all know.
So when you look at the Super Bowl teams, those are two teams who lean heavily on defense. What did you learn just from watching those teams operate in the postseason?
Well, I think this is like a subtle suggestion, but there's a huge investment in the defense, especially the defensive line in the fronts. To me, that's where championship teams are built, not just championship defenses. Saw this graphic about every playoff team and their investment in their defensive line, whether it be draft capital or money. And the top defensive lines in the NFL were all the playoff teams. You know, Houston has $180 million in their defensive line. New England, when Milton was on top of what they had already invested a ton of money in. Obviously, Seattle, across the board, whether it be first-round picks or high-priced veterans, huge investment. Go back to last Super Bowl winner. Like, Philadelphia won a world championship. We can say what we want because of their defensive line. And it just, it gets me excited here because when I hear Ian Cunningham talk and I hear Coach Stefanski talk, I hear that. We got to build this thing from the front back, and so I know there's going to be an investment. I know there's going to be dedicated resources to it, and I'm excited about what that's going to look like.
Speaking of investments, what would you, I don't know how you'll relate, and you probably don't yet with the front office in terms of your input on players, but what would your argument for Caden Ellis be as a retention?
Yeah, I would love Caden back. I think we all would. when I think of Caden, and I know this sounds nuts, but I think of the human being that he is first, the leader that he is, what he does behind closed doors.
Which I think,
He is one
me
of the
personally,
most
Caden
amazing
Ellis,
human
like
beings
if he
I've ever
comes back
from
on a
coaching
good
standpoint.
deal,
And his influence on this
yeah,
group,
I'm
not
cool.
just from a football process
But if he coming
standpoint,
back
but
trying to be
to the way
overpriced
they
and one of the
parented
highest
kids, the way
paid
they carry
linebacker,
themselves as a
nah,
man,
go
all that
ahead
in
and walk.
between, he
And
is
personally,
amazing.
like
And then the player that he is gave us this
kinda
really
kind of like he's been saying, just like F. Jeff Over just said just now. And if you watched Ian Cunningham, they talked about the trenches. So we're about to be real trench heavy, well, real front seven heavy. So I definitely think our first picks might be. Well, I gotta cut my mustache. Our first picks might be in that trench for either side. Honestly,
unique flexibility. I mean, to think a guy could play world-class line of scrimmage play, but at the same time, you could stack him behind the ball and he could play world-class stack linebacker play. I mean, that is rare. And then the mental processing that he had. I mean, I've never had a line of scrimmage player run the defense. You know, a lot of our defenses, he was a line of scrimmage player, you know, and that's it's a testament to not only his intelligence, but it's probably a bigger testament to his process and how hard he worked at it. Elite
now
communicator,
I ain't gonna
processor.
say that
He
will
put a
be
lot on his
easy
plate
to
and he
replace his
thrives. He
experience
was the
and his
guy
mindset and
in-game,
his mind on
I
how
would
to work and run the
suggest,
defense and
like,
call it.
a pretty
That
complex,
will be
like,
what
pivot.
will be to me hard to
Like,
replace. But
let's
as
do it.
far as his
Like, huh?
athleticism
Like, he
and
had no
stuff like
hesitation.
that,
Like he was
yeah.
yeah, he gave us some rare multiplicity within the defense, and yeah, and I would love him back. To replace Caden would take more than one human being.
Thanks, y'all.
All right, thank you guys.
On to our next guy,
I'm great. I'm
Hey.
great.
our new special team
And
coach,
one of the
Craig
challenges with teams, I know there's
Ackerman.
roster turnover in all
Ackerman?
teams, but a lot of
Craig
teams,
Ackerman?
Special teams, you're dealing with.
Hopefully that's how I'm saying. I hope I ain't messing his name
A
up.
couple core guys. What's your approach to kind of, blending in new guys every year when you're trying to do something?
Yeah, sure. It is different for a special teams coach. You know, they got guys coming in and out each and every week, you know, off season, all the different types of things. Basically, my whole thing is we want to teach these guys whatever we can to help our team win. Whether it's on offense, defense, or special teams, if you're a 4-core football player, a 2-core football player, it doesn't matter. We want to have a role for you, and we want you to excel in it. So that's my biggest thing. I want to teach these guys, I want to develop them, and I want to inspire them to play as hard as they possibly can. So that's part of my job as a special teams coach, and that's what I'm going to try to live up to.
How do you assess the new kickoff rules and how you're going to attack them?
Yeah, I love them. I think it's really done a lot of good things for the league. You know, they were talking a couple years ago of basically taking that whole thing out of the equation.
To me, I think we need to go back to the old way of
75% return rate on kickoff return. So I
think we need to
it's
go
really
back to
helped
the
out special
old
teams
kickoff
a
rule.
bunch. You know,
That's
my
to me.
theory
That's
is
just me.
I want to know who my personnel
Ain't nobody
is.
taking-
You know, and again, that can
hardly
change
ain't
each and
nobody
every week, but know who the personnel
returning
is,
kicks
see what
now
we can
either
do
with that
really
new
well.
rule. They just
We always want to play with
it
effort
at
and finish.
wherever
That's
it
going to be one of the
lands.
biggest things that
I
I'll
think
talk
in
to the
essence, you
players
start at
about.
what, the
Obviously, being
35
extremely
now?
detailed.
Why
Whether
even
it's in the
take it back?
coverage
Why
units
risk
or the
that?
return units, that's going to be one of the bigger things. But I do love how the NFL end up adopting the new rule. I think each and every year we'll probably try to tweak it. That's probably our jobs as coaches. I know during the draft, or excuse me, at the combine, all of our special teams coaches, we get together, we talk about different things, maybe a new rule that could be implemented at any point in time. But I think if we're not involving as
Oh yeah,
coaches
they didn't had
or
that.
a league,
They ain't
you know,
had
it's
that
just gonna
owners
become
meeting and
stale. So
stuff
we don't
yet,
ever
where
want
all the
that to happen.
coaches, and all the owners and stuff get.
How do you assess the kicker position and what this team
Yeah,
had last
I want to
year?
know if we're gonna keep Zane Gonzalez. And
Yeah, I mean, that's just me going back through everything, taking a look at, you know, whether it's Zane. I thought he did a really good job coming back in, kind of steadying everything down. I know it was a little interesting, you know, with having a bunch of different kickers in. I dealt with a similar situation there at Miami where Jason Sanders had a great year the year before. He got hurt in the last preseason game. We brought in about 6 kickers to go for a tryout. So I know how stressful that is, especially bringing in a new guy. But we end up picking a really good player there, and Riley Patterson. He did a great job for us. But my biggest thing that I look at a kicker, I want a guy that's confident. Guy that's going to go out there. It doesn't matter if it's in the first quarter or in the fourth quarter where he's kicking a game-winning field goal. I want a guy that's going to have total confidence in himself. I want his teammates to have confidence in him, that they can go out there and perform at a high level.
That was one thing.
So
the fact that he said it, that was one thing that how do you say? Koo. Young Wei Koo. That was one thing Young Wei Koo lost. Young Wei Koo lost his confidence. And that really started to show in his kicking. He started missing kicks and stuff. Like, that's how we lost the first game of the season. Off of a kick that he missed. Like, yeah, bro. It was our kicking situation this year was so horrible. I ain't gonna say that. Let me not say so. I kind of, yeah. Until Zane got here, it was horrible. Because we lost, I want to say lost at least 3 games to where all that we needed was a field goal. Okay, our first game against the Bucks, all we needed was a field goal in that one. Second game against the Panthers, field goal. That's all we needed in that one. The Patriots missed the extra point. Missed the extra point. Need a field goal to win that one. It's probably, I think it's a couple other games that all we needed was a field goal.
That's probably one of the bigger things that I take a look at.
Trust the kickers.
Just sitting there.
But ultimately, we really couldn't trust the coaching staff because the coaching staff was the ones who was putting them out there and
maybe not arrogant, but more of
doing all this stuff during the decision making.
You come into the situation, like obviously being with different teams before, like, and then obviously right now everybody's going through the evaluation process, talking about the roster. Coach Rick talked about that. How do you see this unit based off the players they have on this roster right now, and how they get better? Like, what is your plan for them to be a better special team this year?
Yeah, great question. I think one of the biggest things that I look at when I go and really evaluate a roster is I'm going to look at every single specific player, and I write up what's called an IDP, an individual development plan. Focusing on their strengths, focusing on their weaknesses, an area of focus that they might have that I feel like I could get them better, whether it's teaching them fundamentals, technique, maybe talking to them about certain things. That's the process that we will go through this off season with those guys, and it's going to be detailed. Like, that's part of my job as a coach. I learned this when I was real young in age. I really need to go and teach these guys, be clear, clean, concise, and very direct with the players. That's kind of my coaching philosophy. I want to make sure that the objective is very clear to them. Everything is going to be clean, and then also be direct and ask them direct questions. To see if I know that they know what the answer is. And more importantly, do they feel confident when a certain player will answer a question correctly? And that also comes back from my teaching background. I got an elementary education degree, never used it, but you're using it now. Yeah, just in a different way. I'm not teaching third grade social studies or anything like that, but I thought that was really key with me being a teacher and trying to go through that process. I was going to be a high school coach and assistant football coach and head track coach until my college coach ended up calling me up and asked me what I was going to do. And I told him, and he said, "Yeah, Craig, you're not going to do that. You're going to coach college football at the time." And
he said, that just reminded me of Happy Gilmore. He said, "You're a hockey player. Well, you're going to give that shit up. Focus on golf."
NFL now going on 17 years, but
that's how that made me feel right there.
He said, really focusing on what they can do and what they can't, and that's part of my job. Like, I've got to really study it and understand what these guys can do.
With Craig Ackerman, I don't really know his work. I got to go back and look at some of the teams that he
bad coaching
coached on and stuff like
that he's physically not capable of doing. And that's part of matchups. I don't want to match up a 195-pound guy on a 265-pound guy. To me, that's bad coaching. Sometimes does it happen? Yes. There's sometimes you can't match up everything, but I want to make sure that every player is going to be confident going out there, understanding what he has to do, and then his matchup, does he feel like he can match up to that player and win that down? That's the most important thing.
How much do you lean into some of the leaders that were on this team that were part of the special teams, the Mike Fords, Josh Woods, guys like that? Are you familiar with
Which
those guys?
Mike Ford is somebody I wish
Yeah,
we
it's
do
big.
resign
I've
and
already had
bring
a
back
great
and
conversation with Mike,
keep him
on a lot of
special
different things.
teams.
I already almost gave him my IDP with him. But, you know, I will definitely lean on those guys a lot. You know, those are the
Mike
guys
Ford got
that are
us a
out there
couple
playing,
extra
obviously.
possessions. He got the ball back
I
a couple
didn't play at
times.
that high level.
He actually
so,
ended the game once.
What I
forgot
feel
this
like I
past
can
year.
do is I
Scared
can
a dude and
continue
he
to help
dropped the
them out
ball.
with fundamentals
Crazy.
and technique. Maybe a little bit different scheme here and there, but I really want to focus in on those guys and let them know that, hey, I'm really studying you. I know what you can do. I want to make sure that I put you in that best situation for you to succeed, and I will lean on those guys a lot for that.
We've heard a lot about accountability from people in the organization. We heard from Arthur Blank, from Matt
Yes,
Ryan, from Kevin.
accountability. Now
As
let's
a
hear your
coordinator,
accountability.
What's that mean to you as far as fostering accountability?
Yeah, that it's huge. It's everything. You know, being accountable of what you're doing, your actions. You know, when you go out there in the practice field or in the meeting rooms, like, you have to be held accountable. I feel like that's one of the biggest parts of my job, is to have those guys be accountable, whether it's being on time, whether it's just knowing every single detail that we're going to give them out there on the football field or in the meetings. I think it's going to be huge, and it's an everyday deal. You know, you got to be held accountable every day, to myself, to this organization, to Mr. Blank, to Coach Stefanski. We all got to be held accountable. I talk about every day as an interview. For me, for the players, I learned that a long time ago when I got into coaching, that you need to go in every day and feel like it's an interview. You know, no one's made it. The next day, it could be your last day. Who knows? So accountability will be a big force, and all of them will be held accountable.
What was the process path that you ended up here?
Well, yeah, you're talking about overall in general when I got into coaching, every place I've been.
From Miami to here.
Okay, yeah. So got a couple of phone calls from a couple of former guys that I coached with, saying that Coach Stefanski had been calling around and asking about me. So they end up texting me, and finally, when I was allowed to go and interview here with the Falcons, had a great conversation with Kevin. Just, you know, getting
Yeah,
to
I gotta
know each
definitely
other,
go and look, because
which was really good.
the reason you don't see me
That was
talking
about
much
a half
about
hour,
him is
and then
because
he asked me to
I
do
don't
a
know
Zoom
too
meeting
much about him. I gotta go
we
and
got all this crazy weather
research on
here,
him.
and I
But
was
he
up in
sounds like
Nashville
he
at the
knows what
time,
he's
'cause that's where my
doing.
family is
And
at.
not only that,
Wasn't
he
able to
sounds
come
like
down here in
he-
person to interview, but we end up doing a Zoom meeting. Which
in
was
line
really
with
good.
everybody
I
else,
got a
man.
chance
Everybody
to,
sounds like they
interview
are
with
on the
Kevin
same
and
page
Matt.
with what they're
So
doing
that
with
was
the players,
pretty
from
fun.
developing,
Just to hear
but
all
making
their,
sure we put
their
our
questions
players
and
in
having their vision
position
of what
to
special
be
teams is
successful,
about,
and not just
and
go
then
out
I
there and just
also
get them
had
out
a
there and be
Zoom
like,
meeting
all right,
with
go
all
be
the coordinators
successful.
too, which was good, and Bob Quinn. So really enjoyed that process. Very thorough. A lot of good questions. You know, my deal that I was a little disappointed. I love to be out there and do my interview where I can actually move around and bring guys up and say, oh, here's how I'm going to coach this, you know. But I couldn't do that very well in the Zoom meeting. But you know, it was really good. I enjoyed it. I'm super excited to be here. I know the tradition here.
I like that hoodie though.
I know the
Or,
city. They're dying
would
for
you
great
consider
football.
that like
So,
one of them shirt hoodies?
You
I
know,
need
my
to get
son's
one.
going to be a freshman in high school, so we're kind of going through that process right now, trying to find some schools. And football is really good here, and it means a lot. So my youngest son, he's all excited to come in here and you know, go and compete too at some of these high schools. So really excited to be here.
What were Matt Ryan's questions about special teams?
Yeah, you know, philosophy, wanting to know, you know, a lot of things about, you know, what I believe in. You know, which was really good. Here's a former great quarterback starting asking special teams questions. So I really enjoyed, you know, getting to know Matt during that time.
Former great quarterback.
And then at the end, it was kind of cool because my other son just graduated high school early up in Nashville, and he is a freshman early enrollee at Samford University there in Birmingham, Alabama. And I guess during my interview, Matt had started looking up on Google how far Flowery Branch was to Birmingham. So that was his last question. He goes, you know how far it is to Sanford University? And I said, I don't really know, but I'm sure my wife does. But yeah, it was exciting for him to be part of that process.
Yeah, I bet you, yeah, because she gonna want to go check on you,
Straying a little
son.
bit afield from Falcon stuff, but into your background, I noticed that I couldn't help but notice that you overlapped with Sean McVay at Miami, Ohio.
Yeah.
Do you have him on any of your teams?
Yes, it's kind of awesome. I mean, yeah, so I was there all 4 years at Miami, Ohio when Sean was there. And, you know, Sean and there's the other group of guys that are really successful. And you knew that right away when you were coaching, whether it was Sean or his friends, that these guys are going to be extremely successful in whatever they do, whether it's coaching, whether it's running their father's car business, whatever it was. Sean's awesome. I really enjoyed my time there, and I ended up doing a little stint there with the Rams. That Sean tried to get me out there a couple times, and you know, I learned a lot from him when I was out there too. It's just kind of funny how that ends up going.
So
I was
we got
young
another
coach,
McVay
coaching at Miami,
type
Ohio, and you know,
Guy
get an
from
opportunity to know him. And then seeing him succeed like he's doing right now, it's kind of a proud moment, even though you know, I'm not his dad, but it's awesome. It's a cool thing that he's doing, along with his other friends that were part of that group. You're diving deep. I like that. That was good. You're diving deep. I like that.
Okay, so that was the end of that video. Oh wow, they cut off just like that. They usually don't do stuff like that. They don't usually cut the video off just randomly, because it seemed like it was still some more of the interview. But hey, man, I guess that's it. So hey, we got what we need to know. We got to know our coordinators, which we already knew one of them, was Jeff Ulbrich, but good to hear from him, seeing good spirits, and he was glad that he was trained and glad to stay. But as far as the other two, hey man, I'm happy to have them, happy to get to work, man. So make sure you hit that like button, comment, subscribe, and until next time, stay blessed, stay fresh. Shalom.